Welcome to the Evo India podcast. As you can see, we've got a brand new home for the podcast. So every year we start off this podcast on a high and we promise to do more and more podcasts. And through the year, it all tapers down. And by the end of it is months before we've done a podcast. So now we've put our money where our mouths are.
Full commitment.
Full commitment. So we got this whole new studio that has been set up. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. Atish doesn't want more color over here, but we've got more lighting, so we'll have more color in the next episodes. We'll play around. We'll play around as it goes, and we'd love to hear your comments and let us know what we should be doing. So on this episode of the Evo India podcast, we're going to be talking about the most important event of 23 from the automotive perspective.
Actually, the most important event in probably the last 3 years in the automotive space.
That's true, because the Auto Expo was supposed to happen last year, but the pandemic and everything put the brakes on it. But now it is back. It's happening this month as we speak. It's actually happening 11th and 12th of this month. So we are going to be there. The entire Evo India team is going to be there. We're going to be bringing you live updates as it happens on the YouTube channel, on our social media. So it's going to be flooded with Auto Expo content. This episode is on the Auto Expo, but before that, the Harrier that you see over here, this is going to get facelifted. We're going to talk about that, and you can win this scale model of the Harrier. We're going to have the question towards the end of the podcast, so make sure you stick around and listen to this or watch the podcast. The podcast will be available on all podcast channels, so that's Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
Anchor. Wherever you get your podcast, it's everywhere. Don't worry. Just look for the Thrill of Driving podcast or the Evo India podcast and you will find it.
And before we dive into that, let me introduce you to my co-host, Atish Mishra, assistant editor at Evo India, and myself, Suresh Chandran, editor at Evo India. And let's kick this off. Auto Expo 2023.
But before we go ahead, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Evo India channel, and why don't you leave a comment down below. Now that we've got this space, what do you want to see from us over here? We're obviously going to be doing more podcasts, but if there's anything specific you want us to talk about, anything specific you want us to do, leave it down below. We're going to be reading all of those comments and we'll implement whatever we can.
And we are going ahead with the Jimny. Finally, after years and years of waiting, the Jimny is coming. This, like Atish said, has been re-engineered for India with 5 doors. It'll have the 1.5 petrol engine, no diesel engine. And I think it will be a lovely addition to that space. Right now, it's a space dominated by the Thar. We have the Gurkha also, but the Gurkha is super niche in that niche segment. The Thar...
It doesn't fit everyone's lifestyle.
True. Also, the engine, it needs an upgrade. Of course, upgrades are coming on the Gurkha. We'll talk about that on another podcast. But right now, it's the Thar that's dominating, and the Jimny will finally give the Thar a run for its money. It's from Maruti Suzuki. So obviously, more of a mass appeal, a lot of commitment to the brand, a lot of interest in the brand. So, you know, something coming from Maruti Suzuki will be thoroughly reliable, nothing will go wrong, all of that is there. It's the successor to the Gypsy. The Gypsy, for its time, it did really well. It was the off-roader that got us all into off-roading, even though it was a bit crude and whatever, but great off-roader, and it looks awesome.
And I'm super excited that this lifestyle off-roading space is finally maturing, you know. Earlier we had off-roaders, but they were more utility vehicles that enthusiasts like us would repurpose to a lifestyle vehicle. Now these are dedicated lifestyle vehicles and manufacturers are developing for that use case, you know. So it's exciting. The Thar, the Jimny, we're going to have a wild time now.
So this podcast is not supposed to be about the Jimny. We can talk for the next hour about the Jimny. So let's not go there. But let's dive into the other stuff that Maruti Suzuki will be showcasing. Now, there is something called the YTB or the Baleno Cross.
Do you think there's still a market for the Cross?
So the Cross formula that we've known, that's been the Polo Cross. So basically the Polo with cladding on the side, black cladding on the side. That's it. Toyota did that with the Leva with cladding on the side. I think even the Fabia was there, and the only Cross that is still there in the market is the Tiago, the Tiago NRG. And I don't remember the last time I saw a Tiago NRG on the road. So in the Indian case, these Cross whatevers don't really work. Will Maruti be able to actually make a meal out of it?
Crack that segment.
I'm not too sure. Though I think Maruti would have also seen the failures of the other manufacturers, and they might do a little bit more extensive bodywork change to make it look a little bit differently, maybe give it slightly more ground clearance.
There have been pictures doing the rounds, you know, it looks like it has a Grand Vitara-like front. I saw some pictures of something with a sloping roofline. Maybe that's the car that's going to come.
Yeah, so that's what Atish showed me. We're going to play that out also now. So I'm not sure that is the Baleno Cross. And the Baleno is small, so having that SUV coupe roofline, it will eat into rear headroom. I'm not too sure about that. But I think Maruti will make it a little bit more different from the regular Baleno.
And call it an SUV.
Oh, everything is an SUV, right? You were pointing out that the Ignis is also called an SUV.
Maruti calls the Ignis an SUV.
So that will definitely be called an SUV. So that's the second SUV that they will show. And the third is a Creta-sized electric SUV. Now, I think the platform might be the same one that is there on the Grand Vitara and the Hyrider. I think, I'm not too sure. The styling will be radical. Maruti's concepts. Now, they show these wild, like moonshot concepts.
You remember the last one we saw at the last Auto Expo?
Yeah, and
the electric car.
And that never really translates into production reality. It's just this unreal kind of concepts. And plus, Maruti Suzuki doesn't really have a design language. They do these different ideas with the styling, and each one looks different. So it doesn't have that homogeneity through the lineup. Maybe that's on purpose. Maybe they don't have a design language that they want to propagate through it. Whatever. Each car looks different. So I'm not too sure what we see is what we will get in a year, 2 years, 3 years. Not too sure.
Yeah, but it's significant, right? Maruti Suzuki entering the electric game in itself is significant.
That will be the game changer, like the Tiago electric that you drove. We'll talk about that in a bit. That is a game changer. Now Maruti Suzuki, the country's largest manufacturer, getting into electrics, that will give customers the confidence to jump into electrics. That will also open up the market. The market will really spread out. And imagine if every Maruti Suzuki and every Nexa showroom has a charger. That will what? Straight up triple the network that we have in the country?
Assuming, it may be more.
It might be more because Maruti Suzuki is everywhere. So then that whole infrastructure topic that everybody is banging their heads over will not be a topic anymore because you'll have it everywhere. Fuel pumps will go out of business because Maruti Suzuki dealerships are everywhere. Now, in the interim, Maruti is going to focus on CNG, on other flex fuels. And they will be showing a WagonR flex fuel, which does not excite me. So we'll skip ahead. They might also have a concept similar to the Tata Punch.
So micro SUV.
Micro SUV, mini SUV, all kinds of SUVs. That is a segment that is there for the taking. The Ignis is that. It's the same size
where they're
as the
positioning
Punch.
it.
But the Ignis is not really doing that well. Because
and it's a hatchback.
It is a hatchback. No matter how many times somebody calls it an SUV, it is a hatchback. So, in fact, the Ignis is a very nice car.
It's a lovely car to drive, actually.
But maybe a bit dated now, but it's a nice car. But everybody wants an SUV. So, I'm sure this is also something that we will see. And speaking about these mini, micro SUVs, Hyundai are going to do a mini SUV to take on the Tata Punch this year.
That's not going to be the Casper, though.
Okay, so have a look at pictures of the Casper. This is such a cool car. It's a car that you want to go and give a big hug to. Such a happy car, smiley face. Today, all the cars are such aggressive cars. No, it's all get the fuck out of my way. It's so in your face. No, nothing is happy. Volvo does happier cars.
Serene cars, I would say.
Serene cars. But everything else is just so aggressive. The Innovas, the Fortuners, first of all, it's driven by guys who drive aggressively. And then they are in your rear view mirror, pushing, shoving their way across. Nothing is happy. The Casper, such a happy car. Now, I have it on authority that the Casper is not coming to India because they can't make the Casper at a price that we Indians will pay for, especially something so small. But if they do adapt that design language to the car that will come to India, and of course, the concept will be shown at the expo, at the Hyundai stand, that will be lovely, right?
It will be based on an Indian platform. So say something like a Grand i10 platform with those engines, maybe a turbo engine.
Definitely. So it'll be the Neos platform. I hope they re-engineer it, because today safety is an extremely important part. Mahindra, Tata, what they are doing, Skoda Volkswagen also, what they are doing with safety, 5-star crash tested cars, that shows that cars can be made safe at a price point that Indians can afford.
Correct.
We've been told that Indians will not pay for safety and it'll be too expensive. But Mahindra have showed it, Tata Motors have showed it. So what's stopping Maruti?
And if you see the discourse as well, today's conversations around cars, people are talking about safety. It's no longer kitna deti hai. It's no longer fuel efficiency. It's features, it's safety, it's how they look.
Yep. Our photographer Rohit, his brother-in-law bought a car recently, and he was picking between the Baleno, the Ultros, something else, and eventually bought the Ultros. And I asked him, why the Ultros? He said, simple, I wanted a city car that was 5-star rated, so safer car, I bought that. No rocket science. And that is what people should be doing, putting their money where the 5 stars or the crash ratings are.
Absolutely.
So what I do hope, and coming back to what I was getting at, is that this platform will be re-engineered to make it better in a crash. Today, our roads, the conditions of our roads are horrible, is in fact getting worse and worse. You were telling me that the road from Pune to Goa is in the worst state that it's been.
Yeah, that Azara stretch, there's no road. There's literally no road. You're off-roading over there. It's crazy.
So our roads are getting worse. People's traffic sense, the discipline is only getting worse. The only thing you can do to protect yourself is sit in a safer car, drive a safer car. So when something jumps out in front of you, when a tractor is coming at you on the wrong way and you can't avoid it, the only hope is that you have airbags, you have not just 2 airbags, but 6 airbags, you have a strong structure, and the car will actually save you.
Absolutely.
So that's on the micro SUV.
But Hyundai is doing a lot with electric cars as well. So the Ioniq 5, the Ioniq 6, they're going to be showcased at the stand.
Yes.
You've driven the Ioniq 5?
No, I haven't driven the Ioniq 5. I was in Mumbai at the Gateway of India where they did the India unveil. That was a really nice thing that they did. And I think the Ioniq 5 is a very good looking car. Hyundai's design language, especially on these global cars.
It's evolved, it's matured, it's become something that's palatable, and
it's actually desirable, not just palatable, but desirable.
Absolutely,
And
that's the right word for it.
As good the Ioniq 5 is, and the price will be announced at the Auto Expo, so as good as the Ioniq 5 is, the Ioniq 6 takes nothing from the Ioniq 5, goes completely radical, and what a freaking awesome looking car. That design language, to think that that's coming from the Koreans that a few years ago gave us those old accents and Verners and all of that, Sonatas. And now that Ioniq 6, freaking hell, man, what a good looking car.
Nobody's doing stuff like that right
Nobody's doing stuff like that. There is no parallel anywhere else. And these are affordable mass market cars that look stunning. And if that is the template for the Hyundais of the future, we are in for a treat.
Absolutely. Hyundai is second largest car manufacturer in the country right now. They should be bringing their global stuff here now.
Yep. So I think that will be really cool. And considering the Ioniq 5 is going to be launched in India, plus it will be locally assembled. So it will undercut the Kia EV6 on price. So it'll be well priced.
Yeah, the EV6 starts around 60 lakhs. So if you can assemble it here, get it around 45, 50.
EV6 is around 67. So say around
60 to 65.
Okay, so say around 55 to 60 for the Ioniq 5. It's a good deal, considering what it offers.
And before we leave Hyundai, we finally have N-line cars in India, so we probably will have something to do with N at the Auto Expo, maybe a race car, a rally car.
An N zone. With all the N products. So that's cool. And hopefully, if you guys make a lot of noise at the expo and tell them that we are going to buy N cars, they might actually do higher performance variants of the N cars here. So right now, the N line is basically just styling. Both the i20 and the Venue. It's styling with a few tweaks to the suspension, to the exhaust, a little bit more rotary sounds, and the steering. But we don't have a full-blown N car. Now, if you make enough noise, if you're going to the expo, make sure you make noise at the N zone and tell Hyundai, please bring us full-blown N cars.
Stick around there, take lots of photographs. Anybody in a Hyundai shirt, go up to them, tell them you like those cars over there. Just make sure they know you like those cars.
So that's on Hyundai. Hyundai's sister, okay, I should not call it sister brand because then we'll get jabbed, but Kia, will also be there. And Kia will have the EV6. They also said they're going to bring the EV9.
That's the
that
big one.
concept, the big one. Kia's design language, I don't think anybody can fault it. All the cars look good, and it's not polarizing looking good. For instance, the current Creta, it is a polarizing design. But Kia, I don't see anybody who dislikes Kia's design. that EV9, I think it looks really nice. Even the EV6 is a nice looking car. So everything that Kia makes, their design language is very good.
It's been their USP, right? Even when they came to India, they made a lot of noise around their design and how good their cars look, which to be fair, they did.
Yes, that's true. So they will have the EV9. What else are they going to have?
The new Carnival.
The new Carnival. So that's going to go up against, you can't say go up against the Innova High Cross, right?
Sit a segment above it.
Yeah. It also looks bigger.
Yeah.
It looks bigger than the current Carnival.
Yeah.
It looks really smart, attractive, those slim headlamps, big grille, muscular.
Yeah.
And I think the Carnival, even today, is a very nice car, especially in that limousine spec.
Yeah.
Damn comfortable, very comfortable seats, good ride. Remember once we were in Delhi, so we had the entire team. We were 7 of us with our luggage because we were going to the BIC, and then from then on we were going to Ladakh to do some shoot. So we had all our luggage. So 7 people plus all our luggage for a week-long trip. That Carnival swallowed everything.
Yeah. And it kept you all comfortable.
And it kept us comfortable. Only thing you had to be careful about was speed breakers because it was like fully loaded, but it was nice. You could drive it easily. So the new Carnival, that is something to look forward to as long as it is well priced. That should do well. And if it gets a diesel engine, definitely it will do well.
Sure. The Sportage, the Sorento. Now, Kia has been in India for a while now, but they've not got their global product, save for the Carnival in. You know, the Carnival, okay, it came in, but cars like these, they're the bread and butter of Kia abroad. What's your opinion on that? Why haven't they got them here?
I think it's step by step because Kia has been here maybe 4 or 5 years, whereas Hyundai has been here for over 2 decades. So it is gradually establishing themselves, also doing sensible things because the Sportage and everything, it'll just muddle up the lineup. Plus, if you're going to start manufacturing all the cars here, it'll take away from volumes of the other cars. So focus on the mass market vehicles, focus on what can be manufactured here at a sensible price and grow your audience. Also, the dealers, they're damn happy because everything is selling well. Rather than having white elephants stuck in your showroom, you just have models that do volumes that people see on the road. The more cars you see on the road, the more confidence you get in the brand. So you see more Seltoses and Sonnets on the road and you have confidence in the brand. Kia is also a brand new brand, no real history or heritage in India.
They keep talking about how they don't have a legacy and so they're free to do what the market wants.
Which is, I think, sensible. Why do all these blue sky kind of things that might be hit or miss? Do what will work and just continue in the same vein. So I think that is sensible. Of course, I would have liked a little bit more in their portfolio, but you put your sensible hat on and you say that, okay, these guys know what they're doing. They know the business and they're doing smart things.
And like you said at the start, they've only been here a couple of years. So in time, I'm sure that will progress.
Sure. Yeah. And look at what Kia is doing. Ford packed up, General Motors packed up. Kia came in with a bang and they're continuing to be banging away.
Absolutely. Now let's talk crowd favorite, Tata Motors.
Tata Motors. What are you looking forward to?
Well, there's a lot I'm looking forward to, but let's ease into it.
Okay.
Yeah. So firstly, you're going to get the Safari and the Harrier facelifts. Now, you've driven these cars a fair bit. We've had a long-term Harrier as well for a very long time. What do you think are key changes that Tata Motors needs to bring to these cars to make them better for the facelift?
Okay, so facelift, it will only be small improvements. They can't do a complete change. I think they should make the diesel engine more refined, better fuel economy on the diesel engine, sort out still some of those ergonomics flaws like the Harrier, that silly aircraft thrust lever kind of handbrake. It's a pain.
They do have the electronic parking brake on
the Safari. So maybe if they put disc brakes at the rear on the Harrier, they will just get rid of that. Make it a little bit easier to drive. It's very nice on the highway, but it still feels a bit heavy. So in the city, it's not the easiest car to drive. So make it a little bit easier to drive in the city. And I think that should move things up. But most importantly, they need a new infotainment. That infotainment screen, which has been there in the Nexon, is just too tiny. You can never hit the button that you want because especially while you're driving, your fingers are moving around. So
and it doesn't even use the whole display.
Exactly.
In the Safari and
the CarPlay display doesn't stretch across the entire width of the screen. So that desperately needs upgrading. If they can sort out these small things, I still think the Safari and the Harrier are very attractive looking cars.
You were talking about petrol engines for these cars.
That's another point. So Tata Motors has been rumored to be working on their new petrol engines. because right now they've only had diesels in that category, and that is also an FCA diesel. It's not their own diesel, even though the plant in Ranjangaon, where it is made, is part owned by Tata Motors, but it's an FCA engine. So the petrol engine is something that the Harrier and the Safari both need. I think more the Harrier needs it. The Safari is still more of a diesel kind of template format. So the petrol engine, 1.5 turbo engine, that in the Harrier will actually be that big step up that it needs. So it'll make it easier to drive. It'll improve the refinement.
Absolutely.
It'll make it faster also. Also, hopefully, better fuel economy. Now, the running cost won't be the same as the diesel. The diesel will be much lower, but the petrol engine is needed. So if that comes in the Harrier, that's a good sign.
Okay. Now, Sierra. We saw the concept the last time around. Are we going to see the production car this year?
I definitely hope so. Yeah. That's what everybody has been saying, that the Sierra EV is going to be shown in production form. It might not be launched. It will be showcased, and then maybe later on in the year, it will be launched. And actually, to coincide with that, we've got an episode of Gone But Not Forgotten on the OG Sierra and the Tata Estate that is dropping the weekend after the Auto Expo. So do check that out. We've also put up some teasers on our Instagram handles. So we've driven the Sierra Turbo, the old Estate. It'd be a fun story, so don't forget to check that out. In fact, now's a good time to go and to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification to stay notified for that video drop. Now, the Sierra EV. If it has even say 70, 65% of the styling cues that were seen on that Sierra EV concept shown 3 years ago, I think it'll be a smasher.
And going by Tata Motors' track record, it will. You know, they've in the past taken their concepts and put them very close to the concept into production. You know, you look at the Punch, you look at the Safari, you look at the Harrier. All of those cars look very concept-like, if you may say so. They don't get watered down into production.
That's what. So that Tata Motors does that really well. They don't make concepts for the sake of making concepts. They make concepts so that the audience can actually see that, okay, this is going to come to a Tata Motors showroom in the near future. So
I think some things will change, like that the bench type seating.
Yeah, that will never.
They're not going to have a garden in the car.
Of course. Yeah.
And the glass roof also, I hope they keep it, but with crash safety and all, I don't think that's going to be possible.
And Tata Motors, again, they don't compromise on crash safety.
Absolutely.
Ultras, 5-star rated car. So that's a good thing about Tata Motors. At least they will make sensible decisions and they will water down something like the wheels. Obviously, you can't have 22-inch wheels, right? So it'll have to be downsized. It'll have to be made sensible. But if it has cues of that concept Sierra and also the OG Sierra, it'll be really cool. Of course, I also have to tell you that Sierra will be only electric. No combustion engine in the Sierra. So they have to now start pulling out volumes from the Ford plant that they actually bought in Sanand. So this will be the new platform, not the old Nexon platform, and it'll be optimized for EV. So you'll have a lot of space inside the car. It'll have good ride. It'll allow Tata Motors to put big wheels without compromising on the ride. So overall, that is something I'm really looking forward to.
Now, what about the Altroz EV and the Punch EV? Are these going to happen?
So we saw the Altroz EV concept, right?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. I'm surprised that that still hasn't made it to production. Now, we have the Tiago EV, which you drove. I still haven't driven it. And you were damn impressed with it, right?
I'm very impressed with the Tiago EV. I think it's a great package. Electric cars, their inherent advantages shine when they're small urban cars. And that is exactly what the Tiago EV is, you know. And for Tata Motors to break that 10 lakh barrier, it's the first electric car today currently sold under rupees 10 lakhs. That's a big achievement, you know, starts at 8.5 lakhs. And what I really liked about it is that it caters to a wide audience. So Tata Motors knows, okay, there are going to be a lot of first-time buyers buying it. So they've got affordable variants, but they also know that a lot of people with expensive cars are probably going to buy the Tiago EV as a second car, as an urban runabout. So they've spruced it up from the inside, you know. You've got leatherette seats, you've got automatic headlamps, auto wipers, cruise control, that electric tailgate opening. So small touches like that don't make it feel like a cheap car. We've always had cheap and small cars and big and expensive cars, but to have a nice small car, it's very exciting. And combine that with the electric drivetrain, the sprightliness that it brings, the ride and handling that Tata Motors always does so well, you know, and then the price. It undercuts the top variant of the Tiago EV undercuts the starting variant of the Tigor EV. So you look at the price, the value proposition that it brings to the table, it's it's something.
Speaking about affordability, we have to talk about the biggest thing, yet the smallest thing on the MG stand, and that is the Air EV.
Yeah.
Now, this is half the size of the Tiago.
Yeah, it must be.
Even smaller. This is a pure city electric vehicle. No pretense of going out on the highways, no pretense of doing road trips with that. This is a city electric car.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense. But is India ready for it?
I don't know. I mean, I hope so, because it makes a lot of sense. Like you said, the Tiago EV, whatever it's priced at, it still gives you 200 kilometers of range. Now, imagine you half that. Okay, you have a car that will only do 100 kilometers of range. If you're commuting 20, 30, 40, even 50 kilometers a day, that's all right. You come home every evening, plug it in, and then you're done. You don't need more than 100 kilometers of range. I know we keep going on and on about range anxiety, and yes, you do feel a little off in the car when you see that range meter dropping at 50, 40. But once you do your commute 5, 6, 10 times, you realize there's no threat there. There's no problem in commuting 50 kilometers in a car that does 100 kilometers. So for a very specific purpose, which I think will suit a very large number of people, it makes a lot of sense.
Now, does the boot hatch open?
That's, I don't know. We'll have to go and poke around and find out.
Is it a 4-seater or a 2-seater?
It's a 4, right?
Again, I'm not too sure, but that is something I'm definitely going to be checking out.
Yeah.
I think it looks also pretty cool. We've seen images of it. It has been used in some G20 summit in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So the PR has sent us some images. We've got that playing out here.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting concept. But will it work in India? That's the question. This is the Reva. The Reva was that.
Yeah.
But the Reva was way too ahead of its times.
Absolutely.
Has India evolved?
I hope so.
Let's wait and watch. So that's going to be there on the MG side. Also, you will have the Hector,
Yeah,
the
the facelift.
facelifted Hector with the huge screen.
Need bigger screens in cars? I don't know, but yeah, that's what people want apparently.
It's blingy on the outside, it's blingy on the inside. I think, see, the Hector, now we as enthusiasts, we don't really think too highly of it because it's not the most enthusiastic to drive. Yeah. It's soft, it wallows, everything. But when you sit in it, it is great to be driven around in it.
Absolutely.
So
there's a lot of space.
Exactly.
For the price, you get a lot of space.
Exactly. So for that audience, it works. Yeah. And to each their own. I think for that segment of buyer, it makes a lot of sense, especially if you option it with the captain seats. You can stretch out, lounge, huge sunroof. You can say, hey, MG, open sunroof, play something on Ghana. So all of that is there. Connectivity, everything is there. I just hope they take out those Internet Inside badges.
Yeah, really.
And
they
that
need to
should be
tone it down with the badges.
They should tone it down with the badges. And also the MG stand, you were saying?
The MG4. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a full electric crossover SUV kind of car, and that also has huge potential. I mean, that's the space where people are buying cars. You see the Nexon, you see even in the luxury segment, everybody's bringing in SUVs first, and that's because people want SUVs. And if MG brings in a MG4 competitively priced,
yeah, so that is the electric.
Yeah.
And you were saying that the reviews of the MG4, especially the UK press, has been extremely positive.
Yeah, they've rated it above the Volkswagen ID4.
So that's something to watch out for. So that will be there on the MG side. You will also have the Big Ben clock tower and a lot of Union Jacks at the MG stand.
Hopefully some cool sports cars.
Some cool sports cars. Yeah. I was going to think about, so at the MG lounge, they'll have lovely English food. But English food is not lovely. There is no, there's nothing great about English food. There's no bon appetit in English, right? True. So that's not a stand that we're going to be hanging out at. There is unfortunately no Mercedes-Benz, there is no BMW, there's no Jaguar Land Rover, there's no Audi, there's no the entire Skoda Volkswagen group. Yeah. None of them are there.
So no bratwurst either.
Yeah, obviously in India you'll have chicken sausages, so that's not great. So anyway, but I don't know which stall we'll be hanging out at. We'll have to go and check. Maybe Hyundai.
Toyota, I wouldn't mind some Japanese food.
So let's talk about Toyota. So Toyota, the star of the show, of their stand, will definitely be the new Innova.
100%. Everybody's going to want to sit in it.
Even me, because I haven't sit in it. I haven't driven it yet. Yeah. Now, you drove it and you were raving about it.
Absolutely.
And then when the pricing came out, your raves went up to decibels.
Because when we estimated the pricing, we said 32 lakhs. I mean, Toyota's notorious for putting a premium on their cars. And we just expected that to be the case with the Innova High Cross as well. But the top of the line, the fully loaded High Cross is 29 lakhs ex-showroom, and the lower variants, they're under 20 lakhs. So as a value proposition, again, the Innova High Cross,
I think it's
unbelievable.
Spot on. Yeah. The only question is the old Innova, the format, ladder frame, so rugged, indestructible, diesel engine, and at a low state of tune, so it would chug on for 2.5, 3 lakh, 5 lakh kilometers without needing an overall. Plus, you could put in 7 people, 8 people, all the luggage, and it would still climb mountains without a problem. So that durability, that sheer toughness of it, will the Hycross be able to replicate that?
Look, when I drove the car, okay, we drove the hybrid, the performance is there, okay. Toyota claims 0 to 100 in under 10 seconds, 9.5 seconds, so it's fast. But that slug of torque, you know, that the diesel had, that mid-range grunt, when you were in at 40 kilometers now and you wanted to, you know, get a move on, that's missing, I think. And I think that's where this might be lacking a little bit. But you do get the advantages of a hybrid. And as for the reliability, there's only one way to find out. We're going to have to wait and watch.
Exactly.
You know, when somebody puts it through 3.5, 4 lakh kilometers, then we can look at an Innova Hycross and see how it's lasted. I was talking to the chief engineer of the Toyota Hycross, and I asked him this exact question. I asked him, will it last? And his response to that is yes, because India's roads today are better, so the monocoque will last. But if that's his justification, I don't know, because our roads are still terrible.
Terrible. It's becoming worse. From third world, we are going to fourth world in terms of our road conditions. So it is impossible. So I think cars get ruined even faster now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The city roads in Mumbai, in Pune, everything is dug up.
Outside
the metro
here.
work, everything. Every single road is dug up and it's a mess all over.
It's a nightmare.
And where the roads are okay, they slap on speed breakers. It's just, you just can't go anywhere and enjoy a drive.
Yeah, so I hope the Innova lasts. Knowing Toyota, it should, you know, their cars last. Even their Corollas last forever.
Etioses.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
the cabs, even now at Bangalore airport, are Etioses. And they all are chaka-chak. Nicely maintained. They don't, not stinking inside. In fact, we should do a podcast later on the quality of cabs that you find in different parts of the country.
Who's the worst?
I think Delhi. Oh God, some of those Olas that you sit in Delhi. The last time we went, we actually had to get a Ola XL because we were the full team, and an Ertiga came, and that car, I can't imagine how that car was still running. It was like the wheels were held on by threads, by dhaga. It's like, so somebody was telling me that now because these guys don't make enough money by being a cab aggregator, they're just running the cabs to the ground. And when those cabs refuse to move at all, they just scrap it and they go back to being drivers. It's unfortunate, but that's the state of affairs.
Yeah, that's a pity.
So anyway, that's another talk for another time. So the Hycross, plus the Toyota stand will have the big daddy, the Land Cruiser. So the Land Cruiser, like we exclusively reported on our Instagram, the prices are out. The ridiculous prices makes your eye water. But that Land Cruiser,
you see a Land Cruiser and you're like, yes, this guy knows.
Even the old Land Cruiser. So I don't know if you've been watching the series called Echo 3 on, it's on Apple TV. So I've been binging on that after work. I sit for 2-3 hours watching that. And there they're driving the earlier generation Land Cruiser. Shit, man, even that looks so good. I've driven it. I know it's like a boat, but it's an indestructible boat.
Absolutely.
It'll take you through the 7 seas. It'll take you over mountains, through deserts, through everything. It just looks... A person who's driving a Land Cruiser, it's either the politician types, white, all white, wearing white, also the car white, or the guys who know their shit, right? These guys know. I got a friend of mine who...
And can afford it.
And can afford it. So I got a friend of mine who's actually booked the Land Cruiser.
Oh, the new one.
The new one. He's been on the waiting list. He's been on the waiting list since the start. Since the start of the year, since the start of 2022, he's been on the list. So he's one of the first 5 or 10 customers for the... I shouldn't say that, no, because then Toyota will know who he is. Anyway, so I won't say, I won't mention which city. Come on.
but global wait times for that car have been massive.
Yeah, so, Toyota actually put out an official statement apologizing that for the waiting list and apologizing to their customers. That's never happened. Toyota are a humble company and they do listen to their customers. So the Land Cruiser, I'm definitely looking forward to driving. They will also have the GR Corolla.
Okay, interesting.
Which is interesting to look at. I don't think it'll ever come to India, so it's just eye candy. But parallelly to Toyota, Lexus will have the LX 500D, which is even more eye-watering in terms of price.
So much bling.
And so much bling. That front end is just ridiculous.
That extra 1 crore, it's 1 crore more, right?
Something like that, yes.
It's all for that chrome.
It's that cheese grater, whatever grater, grill. But people like that.
Yeah.
And what I was talking about,
and to be fair, it has presence. You know, you look at it, you're like, what the hell? You know,
definitely.
It's crazy.
But like what I was talking about the Casper, like this is the car that you want to hug, right? The LX is the car that you want to run away from.
Absolutely.
And people who drive LXs probably want everybody else to get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah,
so it works for that audience. If I had 3 crores to burn, I'd probably pick that over something that looks like a Casper.
Not 900?
No, but I
need the question.
Yeah, there's too many crores required. But actually, between the Lexus and the Land Cruiser, I think I'll pick the Land Cruiser.
Yeah, me too.
You know,
I think my aesthetic, it suits my aesthetic sense. I wouldn't be so shouty.
It's a Land Cruiser. Speaking about that, and to digress, we also did another episode of Gone But Not Forgotten on the Toyota Qualis. That'll be out in February. I was doing research. I was reading Adil's very first road test in Overdrive. That was actually the month that I joined Overdrive.
Okay.
So I was rereading that road test, and the Qualis engine, it was already 2 decades old before it was put in the Qualis.
Don't tell me.
And that Qualis engine is a Land Cruiser engine.
What are you saying?
It was used in the Land Cruiser, in the Prado, in the Hilux. And that made my eyes pop. So we did experience something of the Land Cruiser. All of us did.
So if you want an old Land Cruiser, I don't know, just go buy a Qualis. I mean, it's
or if you want sprinklings of the old Land Cruiser, go and buy a Qualis.
Absolutely.
So anyway, Gone But Not Forgotten. Now's a good time to remind you to subscribe to the Evo India channel. Hit that bell icon to stay notified for that video drop as well. We'll have cool content. We'll have obviously first drives and everything. But honestly speaking, everybody's doing that. We'll do different content that I hope you guys will enjoy. So coming back to the Auto Expo.
What's left? BYD.
Yes, that's it.
Have you driven any of the BYDs yet?
No, man. So Anand, he drove the Atto 3. That Atto 3, the name sounds ridiculous, but he raved about it. So BYD, they are the world's largest manufacturer of electric cars. And they make everything. According to Anand, they make the screens, they make the OS that powers those screens, everything. So they know how to do integration, and their integration is damn good. So that Atto 3, Anand was raving about it. He said that was fantastic. I'm yet to drive that. I'm looking forward to driving that. And BYD, they will also show the Seal sedan. Now, I did some research, Wikipedia research. According to Wikipedia, this is part of their Ocean series.
Why?
The first in that Ocean series was the Dolphin, and the second is the Seal. So anyway, that's all a little too far-fetched, goes over everybody's heads. But that Seal looks very cool. And that is the showstopper on the BYD stand, but it could be one of the showstoppers of the entire Expo.
I actually Googled pictures of this. It has a hint of the Taycan in there.
Yeah, so
the front end, and then the rear is this really raked out roofline.
Sportback.
It looks pretty cool,
Sportback roofline. So a cool car, and electrics are going to be there. Lots of electrics. We are not talking about the bikes because all the big boys aren't there, but there'll be tons of the electric.
So many.
Electric bikes, electric scooters, there are going to be tons of them. So we will have a look around. And if you want to stay updated on the Auto Expo as it happens, do follow us on the Evo India handle, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube as well, because Anand is going to take over the studio. Anand and Karan are going to take over the studio and give you live updates. Plus, we will get you live updates from the Expo as it happens, as we poke around and look at the cars, talk to the executives behind those cars, the engineers behind those cars, get you those inside stories. So all of that is going to be there on Evo. And yeah, with that, I think it's time to call it a wrap.
Pack our bags, pack our face masks. Have you seen the pollution in Delhi?
My So face masks, sweatshirts, and everything else. And yeah, see you at the Expo. And with that, we wrap this episode of the Evo India podcast focusing on the Auto Expo. And I have not forgotten. Before we end, Adish, you want me to pass me that? We're giving away this Tata Harrier scale model. Before the facelift changes everything on this, we've got a Harrier scale model to give away. In fact, while making this podcast setup, that's when we figured out that we had a box of all these Harrier scale models. So we'll progressively be giving away more of these scale models. What's the question?
Well, we want to know from you what you are looking forward to the most from Auto Expo and why. We like your answer, you get this.
So that's how you win the Tata Harrier scale model. And of course, Stay subscribed to the Evo India channel, hit that bell icon, and let us know what you would like us to talk about in upcoming episodes of the Evo India podcast. We'll try and do this every week. So, Adish, every week?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as we can get our calendars to match.
Whether we are not here, but at least somebody has to do the podcast. So we'll try and do this every week. Yeah. And of course, thank you guys for watching. We love to hear your comments. Do let us know whether you're listening to this on podcast channels or watching this on YouTube. Let us know your comments, and we'd love to take this forward with you guys. Thank you for watching. And if you're at the Auto Expo, do come and catch us. We'll be there for...
Not at the Evo India stand.
We don't have the Evo India stand. 11th, 12th, we'll be there. So if you are there, do come and say hi. Thanks, guys.